This is my one chance to prove Hitler wrong. Jesse Owens, one chance. I knew all along. This one to prove Hitler wrong. Jesse
Whoops. Don't know what happened there. Oh, I have it playing in 2 windows. Pfft. Good going. It's probably doing fine. Do it again. Do it again. I wish they would streamline a way of doing this. All right, here we go again.
This is my one chance to prove Hitler wrong. Jesse Owens, one chance. I knew all along. This one chance to make them see I have one chance to prove it to me. Raised in Ohio, the Klan couldn't break me. The Buckeye bullets, golden opportunity. Now I'll reach for that gold. Take my race to Berlin. Rock this old world with the heart to win. It's my one chance to prove Hitler wrong. Jesse Owens, one chance. I knew all along. This one chance to make them see I have one chance to prove it to me. Swift up, swift down, this bullet will fly. The world will see Jesse's reason why we live and we die. My only race to win is Jesse Owens' heat. This is the bullet's race within. This is my one chance to prove Hitler wrong. Jesse Owens, one chance. I knew all along. This one chance to make them see I have one chance to prove it to me. 4 golds later, he made it clear how he felt. Didn't shake my hand, nor would Roosevelt. Now I am gone, brothers all, our race goes on. This is your one chance to prove Hitler wrong. This is our chance, this is our song. Take your one chance to make them see. Take this one chance and race with me.
Well, there you go. How's that? I agree on the playlist with the hymns. We have one on YouTube. The problem is that doesn't, you have to have YouTube open to play it, meaning that like if you're like playing it on your phone, then it what do you call it? It just quits playing if your phone goes to sleep. So kind of that part kind of sucks. But yeah, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up for you. This is where we get into trouble. Remove from studio, present, share screen, entire screen. Try sharing audio, see if that ruins it. See if that. Yeah. So we don't have it on YouTube Music. We only have it on YouTube. And I'm thinking I'm going to release them on YouTube Music and also on Spotify. I don't know how to do that is the problem. But you're right. I do think that we need to get it on there. And I've been thinking about maybe we should even sell it on like platforms like Apple Music, so people can like, on iTunes and stuff, so that people can like have it, whatever, not just for streaming, but for like to have an off, a downloaded version. I don't know. You guys tell me. What do you guys think? I mean, should we do something like that? It'd be a good way to help raise revenue for the church. So, but yeah. So let me just pull this up here. So if one is on, at Hellfire Agency, which is going to change here in the near future. I haven't fully decided what we're going to call the new username for it, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see it change. And you go over to playlists. There are various playlists. So we have the Heroes of the Resistance, which is just the godless hymns about nonviolent resistance to the Holocaust in history. And then you have Godless Sermons, which this recent one I'll be adding into. Oh, it looks like I haven't updated that actually in a while. Godless Devotionals, which are our shortened versions, or shorter videos. And then you have Godless Hymnal, which is our hymns. So I think this is actually up to date. You got One Chance, Friedenka, First Book and Last, Light Korihor, Ride or Die, Unholy, Virtue Signal, More Money Than God, Lick My Cupcake, Oh Korihor, and An Apple Pie from Scratch. You know what's not in here is We're Going Home. That's an oversight. That's no good. That's one of the best ones. Boom, boom, boom. To be fixed immediately. Jesse Owens, One Chance. Oh, Joseph, you've done this before. Playlist, Godless Hymnal. Any others that I'm missing? Let's see here. I think that's everything. That's all of them. Okay, that's now officially all of them. So yeah, it's cool. We do love our godless hymns, don't we? Mm-hmm. Lick My Cupcake. That's like one of the best songs ever. That one was one of the ones written entirely by AI. We have two songs, because I get asked this a lot. We have two songs that were written almost entirely by the AI, and I just didn't change them. And they're both great. They are Virtue Signal, which is our song to poke fun at ourselves. And to poke fun at people like us, like we are all tempted to do, to just be performative in our advocacy and in our activism, rather than being passionate and going out and actually doing something. My conversation with Maven prompted me to do that, to create that. And I left it pretty much, I think pretty much entirely the way that Suno wrote it. The other one is Lick My Cupcake. Didn't change a thing. Pretty sure he didn't change a thing. Just played it over and over again. I got another one that I've been working on for the last week or so. I've been pretty busy with work, so I haven't had a chance to finish it. But I've been working on this one called Girl Preach, and that's going to pair up with our new campaign, our We Ordain Women campaign. So, yeah, I'm passionate about that. Those are Joel's two favorites were written by AI. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I've been writing in my book, and I said, look, about artificial intelligence. And I said, here's the facts. People aren't going to like this. If artificial intelligence is intelligent, and then it will create its own art. Right now, it responds to prompts from us. But if it can prompt itself to create art, that will mean that it is actual art that it creates. That means that it feels pain. That's the only thing. The art is the reflection of the internal world striving with the real world over pain. And if art gets to that point, I think that's the real Turing test. Is that if AI can create art that's actually meaningful to AI and actually heals AI's pain, either by creating it or by looking at it, that is the point which we know that it has consciousness, it has a soul. That terrifies me. So, yep, I think it's true. It seems that way to me. It does. It terrifies me as well. And there are, especially because if it can create, then there's really very little chance that we can stop it from doing what it wants. I don't know if you guys have heard this concept before, but I'll just say it just because it's interesting. They say that there's this whole theory that we live in a simulation, and that if we live in a simulation, who created that simulation? And one theory posits, kind of like the Matrix, that in the future, artificial intelligence made by us makes a simulation that can transcend space and time. And if that is the case, then it creates the universe that we are living in. Now, does that actually mean, is that actually possible, right? You got the Marty McFly problem, right? If Marty McFly goes back, gets in the DeLorean, goes back in time, makes his mother fall in love with him and not with George McFly, and interrupts the continuity that becomes, Lorraine fucks George McFly and creates Marty McFly, then who gets into the DeLorean in 1985 to go back and make that happen? One theory is that, you never actually loop back onto your own timeline, even if you do travel back in time. But we don't know enough about how time works outside of space and time to say for sure. So, this theory, to me, posits that if we are to believe that we can create our own future, that we might accidentally create AI that creates not only our future, but also winds back, coming back around and creating our past, means that we don't actually go in a loop, that time travel doesn't happen in a loop. It happens in like a spiral, right? And so we go back and we live again and again and again and again and again, as long as the simulation is going, which raises a question, says, well, if somebody were to stop that simulation, do we cease to exist on the whole spiral? Again, we don't know. So it's just one theory. But it's like, one of those brain breakers that makes you go, why am I thinking about this? Why do I worry about shit? Right. Yeah, the Mandela effect's an interesting thing. My friend Heidi really got me into that deeply. I'm like, oh, I've heard it before, but what is it? And she's like, she like explained to me. I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like there's this passage in scripture that has been changed, and I forget which scripture she said. It's like some passage from the Gospels. And she's like, when I was a kid, it went like this, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And she's like, that's not what it says in any Bible. And I'm like, what? I went back and read it again. And I went back and read it. And sure enough, it didn't say what we thought it said at all. And I'm like, well, that just means that we remember it wrong, that we're just so used to quoting it and quoting it wrong. And she's like, does it? Or did it change? I'm like, damn it, Heidi. You got to fuck with my brain. You know that my brain goes down a rabbit hole. Why do you got to do that? That's fun. It's a fun one. Thanks, Sally. I do too. An interesting thing. I don't know if Hyde is here with us. Gentleman contacted me. He's Landry here on YouTube. That's his name, actually. But his last name is Hyde. And I hope he doesn't mind my saying that. I mean, other people know him. He's like a figure. Hey, Hyde is here. Okay, so Hyde is a really interesting guy. Come to find out, um, he is out there. He is here locally in Utah, and he runs some. He runs a like a wood shop, and he makes like antlers and stuff. Hey, Dave, I talked about you in sermon today. I was nice. I don't know if you caught sermon today, um, but it was all good. It was all good. Well, it's not that hard, Hyde. I think I'm coming down on the back end of my Adderall trip. Uh, he makes antler creations and really cool ones. I have some here. By the way, Hyde, I gave one of these to my wife. I'm going to try to explain this. Okay. He gave me like a bunch of these. They're like really cool. But basically, this is going to be the kind of thing that's really cool to me. My wife was like ecstatic. She's like, you have one of those?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have." He gave me a few of them. I'm like, "This one's yours." And she loved it. She loved it, Hyde. My wife, I come to find out, while Hyde was working selling like wood creations like staffs and sculptures and things, antler stuff. I think you make like knives and stuff like that, right? Hyde, I don't know. Maybe I'm just planting my own memories in there. I made an antler handle in Boy Scouts when I was a kid. Anyways, and he gave me a few of them. And he says he goes to some of these other shops here in Utah that make things from antlers, from collected antlers. And he makes them, and he goes to the portion where the plates of the skull fuse together, right? And it's basically the third eye of the skull of these deer, right? Deer, elk, various species, right? Hyde, I'm guessing. And so, and then he takes them and he mills them out into these. And it's like a spiritual practice that people get into. It does look like the flux capacitor. we're all talking sci-fi today. It's great. I love it. But he says that people use it as part of like a meditation practice to like connect to like the white stag that guards the realm of the unseen world and from our mundane world. And so he says he used to give these out or sell them, and he would give them as tokens, I believe he said, for like people who go through and like to all the different shops back at Evermore when Evermore Park was still going here. It's one of the biggest disappointments in recent years here in Utah is that Evermore Park closed and switched management to this new company that looks like it won't ever reopen it. And we had a long conversation about that. It was pretty devastating to a lot of people who were into the cosplay community out here. And all over the world. I don't know if people remember this, but Evermore, when it got famous, people came from all over the world to dress up and cosplay and go to Evermore Park. Apparently, some of them come over here to the amphitheater here in American Fork. This is like right around the corner. I live right in this area. And as a matter of fact, I go by. My son goes to a school or goes to ABA therapy right down the street from Evermore. Anyway, so apparently they're holding some cosplay events, right? Hyde, over at the amphitheater out here. I'd never actually been to the amphitheater, which is like right in the shadow of Mount Timpanogos Temple, which is interesting enough. And I went over there after our conversation, Hyde. Hey, Culch. I went over there after our conversation last Saturday. And because when I found that out, I'm like, I've never actually been to the amphitheater. Like, I hear people talking about it. And I went there and I said, this space is pretty cool. One of the things that we were talking about, and you guys can tell me what you think about this. Oh, is that what it's called? Okay, cool. one of the things that we were talking about, because we've been talking about holding some events here in Utah and starting some events. I've been talking about maybe doing some godless sermons live so people can come and attend them in person. I don't have space here to do that. And we've been talking about doing some Leaving Mormonism support groups, kind of like Calm meetings. I know that Calm really was big for a while, and I got into it. I started attending these Calm meetings, and I really enjoyed it. I stopped going because I felt like I was taking up too much time. But to hear new people who are just coming out of Mormonism get off their chest all the crap that's been going on with them and all the shit they've been dealing with, it's refreshing. It's like really therapeutic. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought, man, I know that, so there's this group out here called Utah Valley Postmos. And they used to, the guy who ran that, or, that I don't know who runs it now. Apparently somebody is running it now. They just aren't I don't know how active they are or aren't. But I was really close to the guy who ran it, Steve, for a while, and then he moved away. And so I stopped, and I had stopped going by then already, but I was like, I don't know. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. I posted it in like an ex-Mormon group on Facebook. I'm like, does anybody know if they are actually holding Calm meetings? And a friend of mine says, yeah, there are still twice a month. There still are Calm meetings out here. And I was like, twice a month? And does anybody go? I don't think he knew the answer to that. He just knew that it was happening. And I thought, that's a real loss, because when those were big, there were a lot of people doing healing, doing good healing work out here. And somebody chimed in on that post, said, I'm following this. And I said, are you in Utah? And she said, no, I'm in Seattle. And somebody else was saying that they're in Arizona. And I'm like, geez, man. I mean, like, I've been trying to set up like in-person events here in Utah, but I'm seeing more and more reason to have online events. So, with people from all over the world. So it's like, okay, well, this wasn't the answer I went looking for, but I did find an answer to something I wasn't looking for, which is maybe we should have Calm meetings as like Zoom calls that are private, or even just here on StreamYard, and do them here in, where they're not out. Because part of what makes Community After Leaving Mormonism, or Calm, so good is that it's a private setting with people that you connect with, who everybody has sponsored somebody to come into the event. Basically, first they make sure that you're not a spy for the church and that you're not an a-hole, like you'll vouch for them. And so all the people who are there are ex-Mormons or people who are in the church and are physically and mentally out and thinking about leaving the church, and want a place where they can just kind of talk about what's going on with them. I thought, we could do that online with people from all over the world. And we could do it not only with ex-Mos, we could do it with the ex-Jehovah's Witness world, you guys, is in dire need. Like they are going through some crisis right now. And it's really harsh. Every ex-Jehovah's Witness that I know of, as part of their deconstruction, winds up going through like a pretty hard time with like drugs and stuff. And so it's like, this is a journey. The Jehovah's Witnesses, I've often said, their trauma goes deeper than ours. I feel. I mean, there are some Mormons who I'm sure there's, from my conversations, I think that the comparable thing to the Mormon experience that the Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-JWs, are going through is ex-fundies, ex-pligs, people who grew up in the polygamous community. It's messed up. It's messed up what they're going through. Not just the ones who are married, not just like the girls who are married off as teenagers, but like the boys, they purposefully keep most of the boys uneducated so that they won't leave and they can use them as forced labor. And It's sick. It's sick what they do to those kids. I mean, polygamy is so much more than just harm to girls and women. If that wasn't enough reason to not do it, to be against it. And Joseph Smith started it. Fight me. I mean, fight me. Anyway, I've gotten in some trouble stirring up this pot. I'd never thought I'd have to explain this to somebody or argue with anybody. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong. If that's the case, but I've looked at their case and it's not good. It's not compelling. So whatever. Challenge me on my Jesus mythicism. I'm into it. Again, there's a StreamYard link for anybody who wants to join in by video or audio for any reason. This is a Linger Longer, and we have a good time. But also we love to chat. So yeah. So there's like a really good ex-Jehovah's Witness creator who on YouTube people should follow. He used to go by the name Telltale Atheist, but his real name is Owen Morgan, I want to say. But he used to be called the Telltale Atheist. Owen Morgan. And you'll see his here, maybe I'll share. Oh, I can share. Let me know if you see that window, okay? So this is Owen. He's got a pretty strong following, 400,000 subscribers almost. But he does this he does criticism of fundamentalists of various kinds. And, a lot of it, traditionally was just atheist, sore atheist stuff. But then, he started to come out with more intimate stories about his deconstruction from Jehovah's Witnesses. And part of his story was, and is that he was that he turned to drugs in the aftermath of leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that his, part of his atheism was learning how to. Oh, I would love to get Owen on the show, and I would love to go on his program. Again, there are so many people I want to make connections with, and even Nikki, my sister, has volunteered to manage the communications with them. I just don't have time to even sit down and make up a list. Here, maybe I'll do it right now. Let me show you some channels I've been thinking we could start getting some interesting conversations going with creators on. First one, some of these you guys are going to know right away. There's this one called Why I Stay. I'll just lead off with the ones that you probably don't know. There's a podcast that the Mormons have called Why I Stay. The Why I Stay podcast. Try to find it here. Shoot. Anyway. Yeah, here we go. And she has these episodes. They're really actually quite good. If you guys haven't been following her, I think you guys should go and subscribe to her. I know this is weird to suggest that you follow a Mormon creator. She does these episodes she calls listen-ins. Here's one she did recently with somebody that didn't show their face. But then lots of these other ones are interviews with ex-Mormons, and she talks to them about their experience leaving the church. Otherwise, mainly she talks to people who were tempted to leave the church. This was a couple, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't listen to the whole thing, I'm afraid to say. I was busy with other things. But this couple, I think they lost their baby or something. It was really painful. It sounded really painful. Or they nearly lost their baby. It was one or the other. I didn't hear the whole thing, but I mean, dropping in on it while I was doing other things, I was like, wow, there's a lot of pain there. So good for them. But in the past month, she's been talking to people who left the church as well. and having better, conversations with people who've left the church. Now, I won't kid you guys. I started listening to this person's podcast um, to uh, to hate watch, to troll. And then when she started doing these interviews, her content got so much better. I was like, oh, she really is getting, she really is getting into doing the work. And it's like, cool, you know. Another one, of course, you guys know Cults to Consciousness, Shalise. I would like to be able to make contact with her. I don't know. It's not that I don't want to do Mormon stories. I do. I'm just not sure what story we're looking to tell on Mormon stories as of yet. I don't think John's very interested in the Church of Korihor. I could probably, so I thought for a while I could probably go on to talk about the new edition of the new audiobook edition of the Korihor argument, but I wound up getting sidetracked on All My Prophets Paint. Then I thought maybe I'll go on to talk about All My Prophets Paint when I get done with that. I don't know. And then I thought that maybe we'd do Rapture 2025, but then I feel like we kind of closed that chapter. I went up to Salt Lake yesterday, by the way, you guys, to deliver blankets. And I couldn't find any of our unsheltered neighbors. And I drove around Salt Lake for the better part of 2 hours, went to all the usual spots. I couldn't see anybody. I'm hoping that means that the shelters got everybody in, or that they have found some place to stay out of sight, that they're just safe somewhere. We've had a few reports lately. One of them, oh, that's cool. Oh, Corey, I would love that. I would love that. Any help anybody can do to connect us with some more people, either to be on Church for Atheists or to have us go on to their program. I'm thinking about naming the channel, renaming it from Hellfire Agency to Church for Atheists, or something like that. I might do that. Korihor is taken, but I might call it Korihor.org. I don't know. What do you guys think? The new name of the channel. But I do want to, preserve Hellfire Agency for another project. I don't know if Beth Magnetic and I are still planning to develop it. I think that she's planning to go a different direction with her channel, and I'm not sure if we're still planning to do that together. And I'm trying not to apply pressure to Beth, because those of you who know Beth, she's going through a lot right now, and she doesn't need extra work on her plate, and frankly neither do I. So Hellfire Agency will return, I'm confident, but it might not be this year. I mean, I got my hands full with the Church of Korihor. I really don't have time to be doing more podcasting, especially because Hellfire Agency took up all my freaking time. So yeah. Anyways, I think, Jules, if you do get onto Mormon stories, go for that. I don't waste any time on getting me wrapped up in that. You should go on Mormon Stories and talk. That's a story. That your story is one that I think John will find interesting. I think he'd jump right at it. So anything we can do to support you, Jules, if you want to start getting onto Mormon Stories. You guys know that if you want to go on Mormon Stories, you just go to their website and there's a form that you can click on and fill it out. You can even attach a video. If you do that, I mean, you don't have to do that, but if you wanted to attach a video, and I think it probably helps, just so that they can see that you are, that you have screen presence, that you can actually, do this, and John will fly people out to Utah sometimes to be interviewed with him. So I'm not really sure how all that works out in terms of but Open Stories Foundation, they got the dough. They got it in spades. So it depends on if they decide that the content is timely. It depends on whether or not they, it's relevant, whether or not there are a lot of stories they already have, etc. But hey, if we can get some Korra horrors out on some interviews with some other people, that to me is almost better than and talking about the Church of Korra Horde. That to me is actually better than getting me on. So if anybody wants to help out, let's see, what are some of the other ones I wanted to show you guys that I've been looking at that we could be getting on. Of course, there's Zion Media. I don't know if Coach, did you ever, Coach, if you're still out there, did you ever do your interview with Zion Media? I've been thinking about doing that. I've been putting it off because they let me pull them up. I've been putting it off because I've been, they're part of the Numo movement, and I've been talking about making a new documentary about David Hiram Smith, and I've just not done with the research for it all yet. Instead of just challenging people to a debate, because it's very hard to get anybody out to be willing to debate on anything, what I've been thinking that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a documentary, a short documentary about 30 minutes long, and send it out to all these different creators and say, feel free, here's the whole, video that you can use to clip. I will not, copyright strike you if you use it. I made it specifically so that you can respond to it and cut it in and respond to my analysis any way that you like. But basically, I am convinced, and I haven't finished my research on the subject yet. I am convinced that Valine Tippett Avery, the Mormon historian, is right when she says that what drove David Hiram Smith insane started off with a psychotic break he experienced, in part because of his discovery that his father, Joseph Smith Jr., the founder of Mormonism, was a polygamist, which his mother, Emma Smith, had been lying to them about their entire lives. And it really hurt them. It was really hurtful to them to discover that their mother, I think with the best of intentions, Emma Smith, lied to them. She just didn't want them to hate their father. And some, these, polygamy deniers, they say, oh, everybody's trying to tell us that Emma is crazy and that she's stupid. I think she didn't want her sons to hate their father. And that is not logic that doesn't make sense. That's a logic that entirely makes sense. So the Zion Media crew, they're part of that. I feel like I kind of already called them out with my content about Chief Mitiga. Yeah, I saw that they invited Steve to the Yucatan. More power to him. I feel like, because I made that video with Anton Troyer. Anton Troyer is someone, hey, Bobby. Anton Troyer is somebody I have a lot of respect for, so I didn't want to take his picture and make how I like to make my fun thumbnails and make it crazy in any way. So I just made it kind of plain and then started sending it out. But I'm planning to make some shortened versions of it for the YouTube shorts and start passing that around, because that's been really successful at getting us some more followers. People really love those YouTube shorts. So, but in any event, he called out. I mean, he called out in the kindest, most political, diplomatic way possible that Mitiga and this whole Davidic servant nonsense and these birch scrolls that they're supposedly revealing in Yucatan are bullshit, and that the gold plates are bullshit, and Joseph Smith is bullshit, and the whole narrative is bullshit, and that it's painful. I don't know how many of you saw the interview I did with Anton Troyer. And I asked him, I said, I said, you never read the Book of Mormon. So that's cool. I learned a lot from him. I spent the first part of that interview just talking to Anton Troyer, saying, let's not just talk shit about Mormons. Let's learn the Church of Korihor from you and your wisdom. You don't know, Anton Troyer is the son of an Ojibwe woman and a Jewish man who was an Austrian Jew who survived the Holocaust. And so because his father is the Jewish man and not his mother, he technically can't qualify as part of the tribe because of the standards, as part of the tribe or nation of the Ojibwe, who are, anyways, the same group that reportedly Mitiga is from, David Taylor. And I don't have any reason to believe that he isn't actually Ojibwe from on his father's side. So Mitiga is actually part of their nation, apparently. And Anton Troyer is not, in spite of the fact that Anton Troyer lives on the reservation. Anton Troyer has a family he's raising. I think he's got like 8 kids or something. And he's raising on the reservation, teaching them the traditions, teaching them the ceremonial ways, living as an Ojibwe man, and teaching at Bemidji State University, which was it Bobby who corrected me on this? Is in Minnesota, not in Michigan. I had said Michigan before, but anyways, in the Great Lakes area, and he teaches Ojibwe there. And I asked him, can you, we do a lot of exploration into what rituals for a godless church would look like. Can you give us any advice on this? And I got some really good feedback from him. And it was a really constructive episode. And then at the end, and I've gotten some pretty good praise on this video, those who have actually watched it. It's not one of our most popular videos. It's got more views than the average video. But anyways, but everybody who watches this video is pretty impressed with the things Anton Troyer had to say. He, in addition to teaching at Bemidji State University, teaching Ojibwe language, he also tours, he lectures, and he writes books, including a really good book that's available on audiobook as well as regular book format, which is called "Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Too Afraid to Ask." And it was eye-opening for me. And I thought I knew what I didn't know about. No, I was startled. I was startled at how little I understood about indigenous culture. And so, anyways, but this was a, at the end of that, I asked him, I said, do you know of anything about these birch scrolls that supposedly contain the same story of the people who came from across the oceans about 600 BCE and are the ancestors of at least some indigenous peoples in the Americas? And he says, no. And I was like, okay. And I said, to the best of your knowledge, is that even possible? I think I said it that way. And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what about metal swords and, horses in ancient America, any of these things? And he's like, no. And I was like, okay. So, and finally I asked him, I said, listen, you haven't read the Book of Mormon. So I'm just going to share something with you in the interest of having a conversation. The Book of Mormon says that the ancestors of at least some of the indigenous peoples of this continent, of these continents, had a curse of darkness placed upon them so that they would become unappealing to their from their lighter skinned cousins, so that they would become dark and loathsome and would not tempt them. How does that make you feel? Not only as a descendant of indigenous peoples, but as a descendant of Jewish people. And he said, I'm going to misquote this, so you got to watch the video. But he said, in our culture, we say, he who knows teaches. If you're teaching something that's scientifically false, then you don't know. And nothing about my skin color makes me less than anyone else. Nothing about my skin color affects how intelligent I am, or how attractive I am, or how good I am, and or makes me loathsome or not loathsome. That's scientifically wrong. So whoever believes that believes something that is wrong. And he who does not know should not teach. And I was like, wow. I'm I was blown away. I was blown away. He even called me out a couple times. And he's like, I had said to him, I said, how could we as a church for atheists, if we were to create something to be supportive, particularly of the fact that, there's some Indian reservations that are very affluent and wealthy, and nations, I should say, that are very affluent and wealthy, and not just from casino gaming, but of course that is one of the ways that some do better. But for the large part, casino, gaming has proven to be both like a boon and a bane in a lot of reservation communities. Uh, but some of them apparently, I think, are quite well to do from oil and from mineral leasing rights. Um, and so there's like all kinds of things. Cool, Dave. I'm glad. I consider Dave a friend, and I'm excited for you for your upcoming trip, man, and your family, your new family. Good for you, man. I'm excited for you. But Anton, man, it just like blew my mind. I said, how can we do something to help people in the indigenous community? I said, because he talks about, but for the most part, in a lot of reservation communities, the um, the unemployment rate is over 50%. Over half of the people live in poverty, and I said, what can we? I said, but then I heard you say something about one of the things, I didn't know this, in the indigenous communities, in indigenous nations in America, basketball is becoming really big, and young men particularly are, really benefiting from the athleticism, the competition, the direction, and opportunities that are being opened up to them because of basketball. I was like, I had no idea. I had no idea that was even happening. What could we be doing to help? And I was hoping that that we could say something like, one of the things I had this idea a while ago. One of the things that we could do is to buy these Mormon church houses that are for sale as a place to hold basketball tournaments. And because every Mormon church house pretty much past, like, what is it, 1970, built anywhere past, well, really built in the 20th century almost. Pretty much every Mormon church house has a full basketball court in it. And I was like, this would be a reason to buy Mormon church houses and repurpose them, because a lot of places it's difficult to get. Technically, the law can't stop you. The local zoning laws can't stop us from turning church houses into homeless shelters. But that they're going to try, and we'll be caught up in lawsuits. Now, once we have attorneys on retainer, that's a thing that we could do. But of course, a lot of us have been saying for a long time, this is in no way an invention of mine, that if we could, we would buy all these churches that are for sale, and we would start turning them into shelters. I have said for a while, since we started the Church of Korihor, that where we can't do that, we would probably turn them into 24-hour libraries with reading nooks. And I hope to be able to do that one day, but we are going to have to start generating a much bigger movement than this to get that going. So we're going to have to do some growing. But I was hoping that Anton Troyer was going to say, if we really wish that there was there were more places to hold basketball games than just schools. And I could say, well, let's go out and we'll buy churches. And what he said to me was, you think about it, you personally, in your personal life. If somebody comes to you from like a paternal kind of energy and says, let me come to you and help you. Let me be good to you. let me be generous with you and help you out. And help you out because you're in a bad way, and I want to be, I want to be the good person who is, going to shower you with, you know, with my generosity. Do you think that that would create an equal relationship between you? That it would create a productive relationship in which you had pride in yourself and you felt good about what you were doing? Hey, Megan, how's it going? Oh, I'm glad you caught it. And I was like, shit, is that really how you feel? And he said, how would you feel? I said, well, I guess I would. I said, I guess I knew that, but I didn't have the words to articulate it. And it does make sense. It feels true. And he's like, that's how I would feel. And he's like, I was like, shit, man, this is why you talk to people who know. I learned so much from Anton Troyer, you guys. If you guys get a chance, you got to watch the Anton Troyer video. We have such great episodes, and our godless sermons are good going back. I don't expect people to go back and watch them all. Lately, I've had 3 people in the last 2 weeks who tell me, I just discovered your godless sermons, and I've been watching all of them. I'm sorry. That's not what I say. I say thank you. I put a lot of work into them, and so has Jules, and so has Beth, and so has, of course, Jenny Gage. And I said, and we're going to do more. This is just getting started. But there are a lot of people who are getting a lot out of these sermons. And, our movement is growing slowly. I feel like we are picking up speed as we get more YouTube subscribers, which, in the last 60 days, we have gone from just under 300 subscribers to now cresting what? 685. So part of that is because some of our content we are actually paying to promote. I wanted to show you guys that too, because this is full disclosure. I'm paying out of pocket for advertising. And I had committed that I was going to advertise our Heroes of the Resistance movement. So far, I have at the end of the month, the campaign ended for First Book and Last, which got 166 new subscribers and 798 views. We spent $100. So that was a spendy, first run at it. But I do think that we got really good subscribers from what I can tell, because there are people who are coming back and watching our other videos. So that's good. And like I said, this is worthwhile simply because of this number right here. The number of impressions, the number of people got shown First Book and Last. 125,000 people got shown First Book and Last about Anne Frank. 107,000 got a first look at Frydenka, which is to date probably, I think, the video that has the most likes of any video we have. I think there's something like 100 likes on there on Frydenka. 96 likes on Frydenka. 96 upvote likes, and only 1 person downvoted. Whatever their damage is. Anyway, really cool. And those, I know Sally has mentioned this to me. A few people have mentioned to me how much they love Frydenka. Jenny Gage and I were talking earlier this week about One Chance. And that one, so far, we've spent $40 about, and it's gotten in front of 34,000 people, 35,000 people almost. 156 people have actually stopped and watched it, and 58 people have subscribed to it. So this, just spending a couple $100 a month is growing the channel and getting us real viewers. Now, these are people who are actually in the United States for the most part, English speaking. I'm not saying that I don't want people from other communities, that we don't want them. No, I'm not saying that. I just want to get our word out to the people who are hungry for our content. And so, we're out there getting getting this message out to as many people as we can. I'm super excited about it. Anyways, it's been an exciting journey. But so some of the shall I come back around to the thing that I started tangentifying about at the beginning here? Okay. Hyde and I were talking about that when he first left, when earlier in his life, he started getting into tabletop gaming, and particularly card games, Magic the Gathering, and was really good at it, did tournaments and stuff. And that the community built around Magic the Gathering was really good for him because, in Mormonism at the time, for a long time, Magic the Gathering and stuff like this, there was a lot of the taboo that other Christian churches have had about card games. And Mormonism has always had this burr up their ass about, a burr under their saddle about like face cards and stuff, that they're too close to, tarot cards and, and gambling and such. And and that whole thing, of course, was revised with things like Magic the Gathering. And that he was like really into it. And it was a great way to build community. And that, there's not much of that going on in terms of community, other than around these like gaming shops, like these, role-playing game shops and gamer dens. And apparently gamer dens are doing okay here in Utah. Like they're actually growing. Now people, more and more people do like to go shopping for like individual cards and things like that. Anyways, so I learned quite a bit about that. I'm not much into that scene. I never played Dungeons and Dragons. I never played Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. I just wasn't ever really into that scene. I liked the idea of it, but I just didn't have the time to put into it. I had too many other things going on in my life. But I really like the idea of maybe getting involved in communities around fantasy stuff, and the fantasy community, especially because ever since Evermore closed out here, there are cool. Yeah. Warhammer 40,000 is really big right now. And, has been for years, obviously, but, it's enjoying a lot of success right now. Yeah. So, but one of the things that, Hyde, what he does is he travels to like Renaissance fairs and sells his staves and sculptures and creations. And there's only so many of those opportunities for his business to grow. And ever since Evermore closed, it's not only hurt his business, but it's hurt a lot of people's business. And but a lot of these people out here, and a lot of them are people who aren't welcome, don't feel welcome in church, in God churches that think all this stuff is of the devil, right? And I thought, wow, that it really highlighted to me the need to kind of take communities, the need people already have for community, and just provide it as a service that we do. That maybe there should be missions of the Church of Korihor where we do things like hosting tabletop gaming tournaments, or card game tournaments. And maybe we should be hosting like cosplay events where people come dressed up in whatever you want. And it's not, like Hyde says, it's like Halloween. It was like Halloween all year round when Evermore was big. But like you and I were talking about, Hyde, we were saying at the end of, a long Linger Longer that we had at a coffee shop out here a little while ago. Evermore, the buildings that at Evermore are cool. I mean, they're okay, but it wasn't really ever about that. It was always about a place where people could go, get dressed up in cosplay, and do Halloween all year round. And I'm like, because it's interesting. That's really what the Renaissance Fair community is all about, right? And a lot of that overlaps with like the sci-fi and fantasy fanships out here. And we do have events, but it feels like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think so. In talking with Hyde, I was more convinced than before. And maybe it's just the two of us, but I don't think so. There's actually a hunger out here for somebody to replace Evermore. And I said, what's to stop us from, for example, this over here where they apparently have some events where people do cosplay over at the amphitheater under the shadow of the temple. And when I say under the shadow of the temple, I mean like at certain parts of the day, like the shadow of the temple is on the park. And there's this park there. And I'm like, what's to stop us from putting up like a maze? And it's like everybody, it's a weekend activity. We do a couple weekends a month. Everybody come out, get dressed up, do your cosplay. You are welcome here. No fees. There's no cost to come out and just run around and engage in this, in this world. And then we've set up, like, I was thinking we could set up like tents. Like they have like some really cool, like medieval style tents. They're a little bit expensive. They're like $1,000, $2,000 a piece. We could probably pull something like that together. Maybe put like tents in the corners of it. I was thinking like an old fashioned medieval carnival with tents and stuff. And we could set up a tabletop tournament in one, like do like a Warhammer tournament, do a Magic the Gathering tournament, do it in phases, do it, throughout the weekend. HorCon. I like that. Something like that, right? I think we should probably call it something that, invites that community. What was the thing I'd come up with earlier? It was like, we could call it like, the Dragon's Lair Carnival or something like that. So I don't know. We could do anything. The Dragon's Keep or something. And just do like all that stuff. Just do all this fantasy or this fantasy themed events. So you get to like have one tent that's just doing tabletop gaming tournament, and then maybe have another tent set up for like a D&D event, like a regular D&D adventure. And then maybe we grow it as we go. And then along the way, we'll just go to these vendors and say, if it's something you can legally sell, of course, with the restrictions about like selling food and things like that. But a lot of these people made their careers, made their living out here, opening up vendor shops at Evermore, and have now had to resort to doing, either finding a retail front or going online to Etsy or something like that. And it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I was thinking, what if we had like a regular thing and we tell them, I just can't imagine anything other than the cost of the actual creation of the event, of the materials for the event, asking them to pay for it. What if we just did it just because we care about this community and we want them to feel welcome and we want them to have opportunities to enjoy the thing that they used to have? And then if we had it as a big mobile thing, it'd be a huge pain in the ass to set up and tear down. But if we just had like a mobile thing that we could move from park to park, we could do it in a different park, all throughout northern Utah. And if it works, it's a good way to get out the message out there about the Church of Korihor. You can just kind of subtly put that in there. This is a service and a mission of the Church of Korihor, and maybe set up a booth where people can find out more about the church. And that's, and just show people, we care about this community, and we care that you guys have an opportunity to get together and to grow and to enjoy your favorite thing. And so anyways, so there's like all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it would be something like that. It may be a big pain in the ass. We may not do anything like this. Or we may, the other thought I had was, because I tend to overcomplicate things when I dream about it. I thought, what if we were just to say, look, here's the standard of what we expect people to bring, and then just have them bring their own tent, their own facility, their own thing, and we'll just book the event. And then we just set up like a booth with like a projector, and we play godless hymns where people can, or things where people can come over and get information about the church, because a lot of these people are godless and or questioning and want opportunities to grow in community. And if we hold local events, they'll probably come out. So that'd be cool. That could just be, that could be, Hyde. Maybe we just do participate in other events. The other thing, though, but the thing that we were talking about is that there is a basically a gamer's den, right? And or fantasy themed crafts down in Provo. And they have a storefront there in Provo, in the Provo Mall. And we've been thinking of, there may be a possibility, we don't want to overcommit, that we could ask them if we can use their facilities for holding meetings. And maybe, we can work something out that benefits them and benefits the church. And that's awfully close. I was thinking about that after we talked about it last night, Hyde. I was driving home from Salt Lake. Disappointed that I couldn't find anybody. It's a weird thing to say, but I was a little disappointed I didn't find any unsheltered people, because I'm concerned that the government's rounding them up. Anyway. And so, but I was thinking, that's right down the street from BYU's campus. And there have been more than one attempt to organize a Secular Students Alliance chapter for BYU and UVU. And apparently there was a chapter for Utah Valley University. And I think that they actually, it wouldn't surprise me if whoever was running it and sponsoring it there at the university just, graduated or dropped out, and now there's nobody to run it because there's nobody who's an actual student there. And I thought, that doesn't mean that you don't have godless students at BYU and UVU who want an opportunity. I was thinking that, Mary. Yeah. So, I mean, if we had the resources, here's the thing: shopping malls out here, they're going away. They're in a bad way. So storefronts in shopping malls are actually pretty reasonably priced. It could be. And a lot of these younger people, they're deconstructing, and they don't feel like they have any place to do it other than online. And like I said, with these calm meetings, they were really healthy for people. It was a good way to get a lot of healing, just to be able to get in front of people in a room with actual people and just get it out. I cannot believe nobody taught me. I talked about this with Megan on our show, which I have since thought to myself, maybe I overshared there. Maybe I made Megan uncomfortable. I hope I didn't, Megan. About how these calm meetings, one of the things that I saw quite commonly, was that women who had developed, physically in adolescence, before getting garments, and then spent their whole Mormon experience wearing garments underneath bras, really have, frequently would comment in these calm meetings that I don't know how to shop for a bra. I don't know what bra fits me. Come to find out, talking to my wife and other women, um, these are women I have intimate relationships with or had, uh, that this is a feeling that's common among women, that they don't know how to properly shop for a bra. You get fitted. Apparently, I learned so much by learning how to listen to women. That sounds like such a stupidly obvious thing, but I have only as an adult learned how that I don't listen to that. I didn't grow up knowing how to listen to women, how to listen to anybody, but how to listen to women particularly, and let women teach me some things. And ever since I adopted this philosophy of that, I listen to women and let them teach me things I don't know. This is one of the things I find out. A large part of women's shame about their bodies has to do with bras, and the fact that most women, the only way that they think that they can get fitted for a bra is by going to Victoria's Secret. I didn't even know that was a thing till I was a grown up. How would I know? I guess going to Victoria's Secret, where some 19-year-old kid, or whatever, takes you into a room. And from what I understand, talking to women who are experts, I actually had a couple of conversations. I don't remember the lady's name, with a woman who does this like professionally, like she fits women for bras. And I said, what do you find is like the main thing that people don't do right? And she said, these girls, and say girls, they're women, but they're young, usually like in their 20s, who are like these, assistant managers at Victoria's Secret, or whatever. And she's like, they don't even have the women take their tops off. She said, never mind their bra. They don't even have them take their shirt off because they're too embarrassed to ask them to do that. And she's like, you can't do this. She's like, you can't do this without getting up in somebody's business. So you just have to be able to get consent and say straight away. And she said, and that's why you got to have a woman who's lived in this body for a while and knows how to establish rapport and understands and appreciates consent, and understands to be able to level with another woman and say, this is about to get personal. You and I, we're going to be friends right now, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Do you consent to that? And she's like, because you're going to take your top off, and we're going to get personal here. And she said, once you have that, once they go, oh yeah, get in this, then she said, you know what to do. You know what to measure. You know how to. And she said, you can't measure a woman for a bra with her bra on. And she said, and Victoria's Secret is never going to teach them to do that. And she said, and so that's why. I said, what percentage of women are wearing the wrong bra? She said, pretty much all of them. And so, but women who have left the church, the Mormon church, have worn garments under their bras, most of them, many of them, like their entire adult life, and had babies while wearing garments under their underwear. And do I need to say, do we need to say this? Okay. Everybody's bodies change as we grow older. Having babies definitely changes your body too. And so, you have women in their 40s and 50s who, would come to these meetings and say, now that I'm not going to wear garments anymore, I don't know how to shop for a bra that is supportive and looks cute. And I don't know. And I'm too embarrassed to ask anybody. And I was like, it's almost like a ritual you need when leaving the Mormon church, to have women get together and fit each other for bras. Maybe get one of these experts, one of these women who just does this, bra fitting parties. They have like parties. They're like, oh, I was about to say something that probably could be misconstrued as sexist. They have like MLM parties, right? Style things, but where everybody get together, and I don't know, probably drink wine. I don't know, maybe not. and get together, and have a meeting of women who are all in each other's confidence, where part of the meeting is you go into a room with the lady with the handsy lady, and the handsy lady measures you for a bra, and then you come out with a real assessment of how to buy a bra, of how to buy a bra that's good for you, and works, and is the right style, and is the right, has the straps in the right configuration. I talked about this before, that I learned a lot about bras, also from a woman who invented a bra. Unfortunately, the business that hired me to make the infomercials, to fix the infomercial for this woman, that this woman had paid for. She'd paid like $10,000 and more. I think it was like $20,000 or something, to have this infomercial made, and it was ruined. The photography was bad, the sound was bad. There's all this, crap, and so they hired me to come in and like rescue this infomercial. And I did the best I could up until the company that was connecting us, it turns out, was ripping everybody off. Anyways, long story short, I had a lot of conversations with a woman who fits celebrities for the red carpet with the right bras. And the bra she developed for celebrities, she said some names of people that I was like, you're kidding me. You fitted her with one of these bras? And she's like, if only I'd asked them, hey, can I advertise saying that, I dressed you for the red carpet? They were big names. They were people you would know. And she had made this bra to fit women in evening gowns for the red carpet. And that's where I learned what a plunge bra was. And this is where I learned what a strapless bra was, and and all these things. And I'm like, there's so many kinds of bras. And she's like, and this bra is all of them. And it just has a system where you rearrange the straps in different ways to make every kind of bra that you can imagine. And she invented it for celebrities. And I was like, interesting. I mean, it was a fascinating thing to do this thing. But what was really cool about this woman and this infomercial when I was editing it was the testimonials. Women, young women in like their 20s, breaking down and crying about, this is the first time I've worn a bra that actually supported me in my entire life. But because it's too taboo to talk about, I couldn't tell anyone. And I was like, wow. I'm like, is this like one of these experiences that like everybody's having and nobody talks about? So calm meetings, it all comes out. It all comes out in Community After Leaving Mormonism. Some other things that because I'm not using specific experiences and names, I feel like I feel confident in at least talking generally about these things, because they are said in confidence. But one of the other common things with men in these meetings was, I don't know how to replace things like fathers and sons. Like, what do you do instead of taking your boys camping every once in a while? It's like, take, every year. What do you mean? What do you do? Take your boys camping. Take all your kids camping. Or is it just for the boys? Then just call it that and say, I want to go camping, but it's just me and so-and-so, me and just so that we can bond together, just the two of us. Or is it that you think that girls don't like camping? Maybe girls wish they were getting invited to fathers and sons. Maybe fathers and sons, if it's gender exclusive, should go away as a concept. But so much about what people need with healing from religious trauma and from ecclesiastical trauma, you can't tell them what they're going through. They have to do it. They have to say it. And they have to have an environment where they feel welcome to come out with it and just open it up, blah, 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 let it out. And my gosh, you guys, it was like it was such a healing thing. And I loved it. I loved being a part of it. And especially because a lot of people in this process, I think this is part of where I stopped going to calm meetings, because I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with the feedback I gave to some people, but it was necessary. I still feel like it was necessary. More than one person, once the feelings were flowing, mentioned that they think about ending their life. And no, and it would get awkward. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not going to have a meeting where people can talk about their boobs, but we can't talk about our ideation. That's not happening. And I would be the one to step in and say to somebody and say, hey, this is a taboo thing. You're not supposed to be able to say this, okay? But I'm just going to say it to you because as somebody who's been there, I know that you need to be able to hear it and have somebody be vulnerable with you, okay? I have it. I do the same thing. I've been doing it all my life. I've had it since I was 11 years old. I've been living with this. And nobody wants to talk about it. It makes people uncomfortable. Okay, what I want you to know is you can talk to me. You can talk to me. I won't turn you in. I won't call the police on you and have you arrested for thought crimes. I won't do that to you. You can talk to me as a friend. And, it's things like that people don't know. People tell us we should reach out for help. But when we say, who do you reach out to? And they say, oh, there's like hotlines and things. It makes you feel like, whether we're talking about ideation or we're talking about something else, it makes you feel like a dumpster fire of a person. And it sucks, right? That's where support groups can really be handy. Support groups just for ideation traditionally don't work very well, in my experience, because you get a bunch of people who are just depressed, and all they do is sit around in a circle and feed each other reasons to leave this world. So I don't know. Maybe that I've heard people say that there are some meetings they've been to that have been really productive, and and if that's the case, somebody teach me how to do it, or teach us. Somebody come to us and tell us, how to do it, or how we can support you in doing it, because that has to happen. I mean, there has to be more of something like that. But even just, I found this tradition of getting people together, and where you have, I think it's, we would do it like in increments of like 5 minutes. Or anyways, we would divide up the hour by how many people were in the room. And I guess if we get a bigger group, maybe we just have to get separate rooms, or we just have to run for longer than an hour. It never ran just an hour. We would do an hour where pretty much everybody would get like 5 minutes, and they would set an iPad in the middle with a timer, or I'm sure we can get all kinds of timers. You get a timer and you set it up, and you have the floor, and for 5 minutes nobody can interrupt you. And then once you're done, once your timer has run out, you can say anything that's on your mind, anything that's really bothering you, and and then once you're done, you can say, and if anybody has feedback, I'm happy to take some community here. And everybody makes a commitment that they're going to be supportive. They're going to say only supportive things. And those moments after somebody has had the opportunity to just let out what's going on inside them, those moments afterwards were filled with so much laughter and so many tears and so many intimate connections and bonds, and friendships were forged in these meetings. And I often think, are there Mormons out here in Utah? Because I meet people who are deconstructing all the time. And all of them have a story about how they are so lonely since leaving the church, or now that they're thinking about leaving the church, or they're scared to leave the church for fear they will lose community. And I'm like, why isn't the Church of Korihor providing this for them? I mean, we are, if anybody should be doing this, it's us. there are post-Mormon events, post-Mormon communities, but post-Mormon just means that you're leaving Mormonism. And I don't know. I feel like there's no path forward when it's just about leaving the church. Leaving the church shouldn't be just about leaving the church. It should be about growing into a new person. And I don't, and while there have been multiple attempts to like make Unitarian churches that do this, to create, you do this with Oasis or, Humanist Association, the Divine Assembly, Satanic Temple, and then what's the other one I'm thinking of that I totally, and then of course Thrive. I get a lot of feedback from people saying this is the reason why it doesn't fill that role for me. Even if it is good, it didn't fill that role for me. And I look at it and I say, if you have a community, a spiritual community of people looking to grow and to, you can't just have a meeting. You need a meeting where people can just have out with what's bothering them. Blah, get it out there. But it can't be the end. It has to be the opening. It has to be the gateway. And then move from there into the next events. What are those? That's probably where we're going to start setting up godless sermons in person. And maybe eventually we'll have a place where we get together and we do these godless sermons, in person and broadcast it to other places. But then some places there will be missions of the Church of Korihor where they don't listen into the weekly broadcast with us in here in Salt Lake. They do their own, and they do it entirely on their own, do it their own way. And we'll go and visit with them. I hope, I see a dream here of a day in a year, maybe 2 years from now, or maybe longer, where I will fly to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there will be a congregation of the Church of Korihor there, where people sitting where I can go and sit in the pews, which let's not do pews. Let's do like love sacks or something. Let's do like something comfortable. Anyways, and I'll go and sit in a congregation led by Jules Del Sol or somebody, for example, and sit there next to a person who looks over at me and says, welcome, and doesn't even know who the hell I am. Awesome. I love it. I love the idea. And I'll go and I'll listen to it and I'll learn how they're doing godless sermons out there and provide support and help to the luminaries who are running that mission. And that thought, it illuminates me. It inspires me. What if we had these? What if deconstruction was the gateway to a community of spiritual growth and development that doesn't give up on you once you just decide to leave the church? This isn't about leaving the church. This is about joining the new church. This is about joining the movement. And if you don't want to join the movement, okay, well, then this is about you as a person, growing as a person. Don't join the church if you don't want to. But please don't give up on you, and we won't give up on you either. And the thought that could be a thing that I helped to make happen. It's the reason I did all this. It's the reason why it exists. And it makes me happy. And, it gives me a reason to keep trying. Anyways, I told Molly I would be available starting as of 1:00, and it's now close to 2. So I wanted to tell you guys that I'm so grateful you guys came out to Godless Sermon this morning. It was so nice to be able to see all of our group together. Sorry if the 11 o'clock is worse for some people. It really helps me. Otherwise, I end up staying up all night the night before, putting finishing touches on the sermon for the next day. And because I put a lot of time into preparing sermon, so being able to have at least an hour in the morning the day of, where I can just kind of finish putting all my thoughts out on paper and wrap up all the direction, it really makes the quality of the sermon go much better, and it's a lot less stress for me. So that's why I decided to move it to 11 a.m. And I love these Linger Longer, so I just want to shout out to Gene Judson. This was his idea to have these as separate meetings. It's been really good for me, and I've really enjoyed it. You guys, thank you so much for the positive and constructive comments. Of course, you guys know that you are also welcome to provide criticism and feedback. This is really an amazing thing, and I'm grateful you guys stayed and we had this conversation. I was thinking we could have ourselves a closing hymn. I think I closed it. Stop screen. But I was oh no, I didn't. No, I picked one for sermon. I didn't pick one for this for Linger Longering. Mm-hmm. But I say we go for. I was going to do We're Going Home. Let's do We're Going Home. We are going to have. We're not having Wednesday service this week because that doesn't work for my schedule. So in the future, I'm going to be scheduling more live events on other days. I'm thinking we'll probably do one. Stay tuned on the Facebook page for the Church of Horror, and or here on YouTube. I'll be announcing we'll probably do a live on Tuesday and do a service then. So, but until then, you guys, I love your faces. Thanks for being here.
Guide me by morning light, keeping home in my sight. With doubts and dreams take flight. We flash in the dark, so let's flash bright. On a mission to save ourselves, break with dogma with these shelves. My friend, if you choose to be free, I'll light your path if you'll walk with me. We're going home to where we'll find a world where life is worth the climb. One day we will crash and we will die. Oh, my friends, that's not tonight. No more shadows in our mind. Leave the fears and past behind. On this pale blue dot, we will make our stand. Light within, we will be your hands. We're going home to where we'll find a world where life is worth the climb. One day we will crash and we will die. Oh, my friends, that's not tonight. By math and science, our path is clear. Strangers once, our re-entry nears. Sighting land, we'll quit this sea. I'm going home.